Yes guys, welcome back to another video. Welcome to the George Benson Football Channel for a very special video. We're not just delving into the newspapers today, talking about my opinions of speculative Chelsea transfer news. I've only gone and got the one and only Fabrizio Romano, also known as Mr. Here We Go. You guys know me for the Yes Guys. If you don't know who Fab is, you need to go and check out his links of socials in the description. In my opinion, just to big you up a little bit here from my side, all of last summer, I was addicted to your Twitter account, just waiting to see what you were going to say next about Chelsea and everybody else, because you always seem to get it right. How are you doing? You good, my man?
Thank you. Really big pleasure to be together. Thank you for the invitation. And I just try to do my best. It's not easy, you know, because transfer market is a jungle, but I like it.
Absolutely. And obviously last summer you had a very good track record with Chelsea transfers. So I think today, instead of just throwing a load of random names at you and just giving the kind of stuff that you would report on your Twitter account, I wanted to really dig into what, in my opinion, is the biggest question right now at Chelsea, which is the differences in expectations and players that both Thomas Tuchel has on his wish list and that of, obviously, he's not been in the job very long, but the Chelsea hierarchy. Is there more of a balancing shift towards Abramovich Marina signings, or has Tuchel got a bit more of a free rein this summer to really go for his personal targets for the club?
They will be on the same point. I'm convinced, 100% convinced, because this was a problem with Frank Lampard sometimes. You know, he wanted Declan Rice, and there were something different in their ideas between the board of the club and Frank. So it's been a huge problem for Chelsea during the summer. Obviously, they did an amazing transfer window, but sometimes you want something different as a manager, from a part of the board, so it's normal in football. But now with Tuchel, I expect them to go absolutely together. They're gonna talk also about his contract because they want to be on the same point with the manager. They want to plan on transfers together with the manager. They signed the German manager because they wanted also to help the new signings like Havertz and Werner. So trying in the long term, obviously doing everything in 6 months is really complicated. They get the Champions League final. He's going to go in the Champions League spot for the next season. So he's doing an amazing job, but also they want to protect the German players they signed last summer. So they're going together with the manager, and I am 100% convinced that the idea of Chelsea is to go together with Tuchel also for the new signings, because they are planning together and they are deciding together on every single move for Chelsea.
See, that's, as a fan, that is brilliant to hear, because I think a lot of the problems of the past is Chelsea have got this managerial merry-go-round that's been there ever since I've been alive, really. We've just gone through managers in a cycle. Do you think maybe now there's been a shift at Chelsea where the Lampard appointment was a risky one? They knew that. And I think now maybe they've got to a point where they really want to have a relationship with a manager that is completely transparent, like they may never have had before.
Yes, I think, yes, your point is 100% right, because this is so important in football today, you know. I think, look at Liverpool, for example. What they did with Klopp in the last years, a part of this season has been disappointing, but in the last years they did an amazing work because they were all together, the board, the manager, the players, on the same point. And this is something so important. In the same for Guardiola at Manchester City, with Soriano, with Begiristain. They are together with the board and they're working on the same point. Chelsea know that it's so important to have this kind of mentality if you want to win and to do something important in football. You can have a fantastic manager, a fantastic team, but if you don't are on the same point, you can have big problems in football today. So that's why they are really convinced that Tuchel is perfect to work with this kind of idea. And also Tuchel himself was looking for something like this, because at Paris Saint-Germain, he had exactly the same problem. He was talking with Leonardo, but they were not on the same point on many players or many strategies for the club. So he was looking for a club to work together, to have a good atmosphere and to plan for the future, for long term, and not just for 6 months. That's why he accepted to join Chelsea during the season, and was not easy. Now we see Tuchel doing an amazing job, but was not easy to arrive at Chelsea and change the situation in the Champions League in particular. But he's been really great, and that's why he's convinced that Chelsea is the perfect job for him too.
No, absolutely. I think most of, well, I mean, after a couple of losses, some fans obviously throw their toys out the pram. That's a normal thing in football these days. But do you think that, as obviously you're here to give us information about Chelsea, that's why we've having this conversation, but I wanted to really know a little bit more from your side of things, as obviously a fan of football, as well as being a journalist who reports things and finds things out and delivers the information. Personally for you, what do you think, having obviously watching football, that Chelsea actually need this summer, as opposed to what the club might be talking about? What do you personally believe that this Chelsea team needs to really take it to the next level?
It's a good question, because in my opinion, after a fantastic transfer window as the last one they did, first of all, they need to build a group. They are building a group, because when you sign a lot of new players in football in this kind of situation with the pandemic, so it's a crazy season, it's not easy to create a group. So I expect something different this summer. No like 6 or 7 new players. They need to sign like 2 or 3, but top quality. So I would say a centre-back, a top centre-back. They have to look for a top centre-back, because Thiago is amazing, Rudiger is doing so well, but they need a top one for the future, for the present, but also for the future. So looking at some opportunities could be perfect for Chelsea. And let's see also the situation of the strikers, because for sure Timo Werner is having not always easy times at Chelsea. So they need also to look at this kind of situation. But I will look for this kind of transfer market, transfer window this summer. So going for top quality players, let's go with 2 or 3 players, not with 7 or 8, because they have to create a group and they need some leaders. More leaders is so important, because you see fantastic players like talents like Havertz or Werner, they need time, obviously, but to become a leader in a top club like Chelsea, in a top league like Premier League, is not easy. And you can see Thiago Silva, he's a leader on the pitch and in the dressing room, because he has the leadership and he has the experience. So I would say leadership and top quality, and no more than 2 or 3 top signings for Chelsea.
That's good. I think everybody that I at least speak to within the Chelsea community, we're all kind of on the same page. We don't want to have another crazy window, because I think the thing that's been difficult this season as a fan is to see so few players getting such a strong run, so that we can never really buy into the new signing, because after 2 or 3 games there's either been an unfortunate injury, or he's got to balance all of these guys who are looking for minutes and trying to fit everybody in. So that's kind of been the difficult thing for Chelsea fans, at least, to really buy into the squad. And I think it kind of represents how up and down it's been at times this season, not just under Lampard, but some of the crazy results under Tuchel as well. In terms of the money we spent last summer, I think the whole footballing world was a little bit shocked that Chelsea went out and kind of...
Yes. I was not expecting this kind of window, to be honest.
And do you think this summer is going to be, in terms of the numbers, the figures that we're talking last season, it was so high, even though it was 7-8 players last summer, do you think that Chelsea might be able to spend something very similar this summer, but on those 2 or 3 that you've just mentioned? Is the budget going to be the same?
I think a bit less than this. Let's see also what happens with the Champions League final, because, you know, if you win the Champions League, obviously you can go with a different mentality also on the market. It's completely different if you win the Champions League or not. But it's not just about the budget. It's about how they want to invest in the club and in the team. But I expect something a bit different. Not so different, but bit less than what they spent last summer. It's also important to understand how many players Chelsea could sell, because last summer they were desperate to sell Bakayoko, and it was a simple loan to Napoli, and Marcos Alonso situation, Emerson Palmieri situation. They have a lot of players to get rid of this summer, and so it's also important to see how many they can sell. It's not just loan, it's about selling players. It is so important for top clubs in general. It's not just about Chelsea. So if they can sell like 5, 6, 7 players, it could be again a fantastic summer about spending money, but with a different strategy, as we said. But it's so important to sell players for Chelsea, and not just for Chelsea. All top clubs are looking for this kind of situation in Premier League, but not only. Really, this summer will be with a lot of opportunities because of this.
Yeah, and obviously a lot of people, mostly when it comes to transfers and wanting to know things, everyone's all about who's coming in, who are we going to get. Do you think there's any high-profile players that are currently in the squad who might have featured heavily this season, who might actually be on the way out the door at Chelsea this summer?
Talking about big names, to be honest, no, because Chelsea are protecting their big names. And here we have always rumors about N'Golo Kante, because he has only 2 years of contract, and also Jorginho. So talks about them like potential players to leave Chelsea, but it's not true, because Chelsea 100% want to continue with Kante. Last summer, Inter were really serious for him. They wanted to offer like 50 million euro, and Chelsea always said no, always protecting the player, and they have been smart. They have been smart, because obviously, you know, when you sign a lot of new players, the old ones are not so happy sometimes, but Kante is a fantastic professional, so he's been great. And talking about this summer, I don't expect Chelsea to sell big names. I think they have a lot of players that they have to get rid of that now they are not playing. Like I mentioned, Emerson, but many others. They need to find solution also for Kepa. So they need to talk with this player and to find the right solution. Won't be easy, because, you know, what happened last summer is creating something new in the market. So many clubs are waiting for the last week to receive the players on loan and not spending money in June to sign these players. So the timing of the transfers will be important. We have also the Euros. and the Euros will change the timing of the transfer window. So I expect a lot of things to happen in the first 2 weeks of June, and then during the Euros, the transfer market will be a bit quiet, and then after the Euros, in the second part of July and in August, it will be amazing. So also the timing will be key, but I don't expect Chelsea to sell top stars, to be honest.
I'm kind of glad to hear that, to be honest, because I think at the moment the thing is, we all, as a fan, I have an affiliation to certain players who I know aren't quite ready to be, you know, first starting 11 Chelsea players. So it's kind of got to that point now where there's so many of them. It's like, okay, maybe we need to offload some of these guys on the side that we all kind of have a little soft spot for. But in terms of asking you some questions, I have you for another, I think, 9 minutes, according to my clock in the corner. So I asked Instagram for a few questions regarding like quick fire stuff, not too much detail, but obviously I want to try and give the people as much stuff as we can to make this a good conclusive video for people to hit the like button on. So I got a few from Instagram, and the first one is regarding Jose Jimenez from Atletico Madrid. Have there been any developments or progressions with Chelsea and him, or is he not on the radar any longer?
He's really, really appreciated. Last summer was one of the names in the list of Chelsea. Then they signed a lot of players, so it was impossible to sign also Jimenez. But Atletico Madrid are always on the same point. Or you pay the release clause, is 120 million euro, or nothing. So at the moment, I say it's really, really complicated. I will keep an eye on some opportunities, as, for example, Varane could be. Also, Manchester United are interested, but more this kind of player than Jimenez, who has a contract and who has a big release clause. But he's really appreciated for Chelsea.
Yeah, what about Jude Bellingham? That's one that a lot of the English people are quite excited about, to get him in the midfield with Mason Mount. Is there any possibility in this, or is it a bit too early?
No, at the moment I think no, because Borussia Dortmund consider him untouchable. It's true that Chelsea like the player, but it's not just about Chelsea. We are talking about one of the best talents in the world, so it's normal to appreciate him. And I think that in his future there is the comeback in the Premier League. So one day, let's see what happens with English top clubs. But as of today, Borussia Dortmund consider him absolutely untouchable. And also they're playing the Champions League next season. They secured the spot in the Champions League, so they have no need to sell him, and they want to continue with Jude Bellingham. And you mentioned Mason Mount as top talent, and I can tell you that Chelsea are 100% convinced that he will be the future and not just the present. They are absolutely happy with him. He's absolutely untouchable. So they consider him as the new top young talent in Europe. So that's why they are not moving for Bellingham. Spending now 100 million euro would be crazy.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. And I'm glad that you said there that Mason Mount is untouchable, because if we signed anybody but sold him, I would consider that a dreadful transfer window. I wrote this one down as bluntly as someone actually asked a question on Instagram. They said, are we signing Haaland?
You know, Champions League for Borussia Dortmund means that they are in a strong position. They are really in a strong position, because without the Champions League, there was the option for Haaland to push and to ask to leave the club immediately. But the release clause is not valid this summer. It's only 2022. So at the moment from Borussia Dortmund, the position is we want to keep the player. And if you want to sign Haaland, you have to put with an enormous fee. And when I say enormous, imagine that with 120, 130 million euro, you are not signing Haaland. They want more than this.
Wow.
So imagine you are spending 130 million euro, paying him more than 10 million euros per season net as salary for 5 years, paying commission to Mino Raiola. It's a big, big deal. And in this financial situation, it's not easy for top clubs as Chelsea to sign him. Then let's see what happens. But at the moment, Borussia Dortmund say that the player is staying.
Yeah, well, if you say it, then I believe it, and I'll stop the propaganda train now. Well, I won't stop it, but I'll just slow it down and put it into second gear. As for outgoings again, what about RubenLoftusCheek, personal favourite player of mine for many years, and Ross Barkley? It looks like those two could be two that might be on the way out this summer. Is that true?
Yes, it's true. They will look for a solution for them. Absolutely. Yes, if they can find some good solution, because Chelsea are not going to give him player for free. But yes, they will be available if an important bid will arrive. And also, I think Bakayoko is coming back to Chelsea, and they will try to sell him immediately. So they have many players to work in laws, because it won't be easy this summer.
And obviously Haaland is one of the obvious ones, but in recent days, Harry Kane saying he wants to leave Spurs. That's another pipe dream of mine personally, but is there any possibility of Spurs selling Harry Kane to Chelsea? In my mind, it seems impossible.
It's really, really difficult, because as you say, it's about the clubs, it's about London, it's about Daniel Levy, the owner of Tottenham, who is still saying that he will fight to keep Harry Kane. So he will fight 100%. And the player wants to go. This is 100% true. The player wants to leave. He wants to play Champions League football. He wants something different. And Manchester City are looking at him. But moving to Chelsea for Daniel Levy would be something crazy to sell his best player to Chelsea with 2 years of contract. So Tottenham are in a strong position because Kane has a contract. He's not out of contract this summer or the next one. So that's why they are still saying that the player is staying. But Kane wants to go, and I think it's really difficult because of what you say for Harry Kane. Then never say never in football, because in the history of football, we saw Luis Figo from Barcelona to Real Madrid, and so anything could happen. But at the moment, there is nothing advanced.
And in terms of these strikers, to kind of wrap it up with the strikers, it's quite obvious Chelsea probably need a goal scorer this summer. Of all of the players that Chelsea have been linked with, who do you personally believe would be the most likely striker to come into Chelsea this summer?
Good question, because, at the moment, Chelsea are waiting for the right opportunity, because of the strikers. In the market of the strikers, you are not signing a striker like right now or in the first week of June. You need to wait like the end of June or July before signing a new striker. Maybe this is the strategy always for top clubs, because they're waiting to understand what's happening with the big ones. Maybe if Mbappe is going to Real Madrid or not, these kind of things. And so it's like a domino. They're waiting for the domino. I would keep an eye on many situations, because really it could be a surprise. So as you said, Harry Kane is complicated. Also, Lukaku situation, for example, for sure he's an appreciated player from Chelsea, but you need to wait to understand what's happening at Inter, if Conte is staying or not, because Lukaku has a strong relationship with Conte. If the club are willing to invest and to change again, to win again, also to do something important in the Champions League or not. So Lukaku is waiting, and also Antonio Conte is waiting to understand what happens. Inter say that Lukaku is not for sale this summer, but let's see what happens with Conte's situation. So, it's like a domino, but I will keep an eye also on Lukaku.
I mean, for me, Lukaku, on a personal note, I've talked about this on the channel a lot, but I think he's a no-brainer in terms of that goal-scoring record. But moving to the complete opposite end of the pitch, there's been reports that Lazio could be interested in loaning Kepa this summer. Do you think we could see Kepa actually permanently leave Chelsea this summer? And if so, what kind of fee could they be commanding for the Spanish keeper?
They've not decided yet about the fee, because they need to wait to meet with his agent and then to decide together about the fee, about the solution. About Lazio, I have nothing confirmed at the moment, to be honest. They have Strakosha and Pepe Reina, so they have their goalkeepers, but they want to go for a new one. But I think not on loan, because Lazio don't like to sign players on simple loan. They prefer to sign players on permanent deal. So let's see if they will think to do something like a permanent bid to Chelsea. But about the fee, I expect something big, because there is the balance, the financial for play, so you can't sell Kepa for 20 million euros. You have to ask more than this. And so in my opinion, the best solution maybe could be like a loan with buy option, with a high buy option to some clubs when they're looking for the goalkeeper. But at the moment, the situation with the goalkeepers, is a bit complicated, because all top clubs in Europe have the goalkeeper. So Chelsea have Mendy, and United have 2 fantastic goalkeepers. And also in Italy, Juventus have Szczesny. Milan are working. Imagine Donnarumma is out of contract in some weeks. He has not extended yet his contract with AC Milan. He is a fantastic player. But at the moment, no one is signing him, because they don't need goalkeeper. Also, Paris Saint-Germain, Real Madrid, Barcelona, everyone has the goalkeeper. So maybe the loan with buy option could be the right opportunity for this summer.
And as for Donnarumma, just a quick yes or no. Chelsea possibly, or not quite? They're happy with Mendy?
As of today, no. They're happy with Mendy, and Donnarumma is still talking with AC Milan to extend the contract.
Cool. And the final question, and I think it's one that a lot of people want to know at the moment. Fikayo Tomori. I don't want to see him go, but is it looking odds on that he's going to be staying at AC Milan for the foreseeable future?
He's open to stay at AC Milan. Yes, he's doing so well here in Italy. He loves AC Milan, but keep an eye on the AC Milan match against Atalanta on Sunday, because their Champions League spot depends by this match. They need to win. If they don't win, they're in serious danger and they can lose Champions League spot. And if they lose Champions League spot, spending 28 million euro for Tomori could be complicated. They want to sign Tomori. Tomori is open to stay, but AC Milan with the Champions League will 100% sign Tomori. Without the Champions League spot, everything will be open, and let's see what they will decide.
Interesting. We'll have to keep our eyes on it. Well, I'm conscious of the time. This man's a very busy man. He's about to go live as soon as he goes off of this phone call, so I won't take any more of your time. I want to say a big thank you for coming on the channel. And is there any last things you want to say? And could you give us a little here we go? Because I know people like these little funny things that we say,
We will go with a lot of here we go this summer. So don't worry, it will be amazing for Chelsea too, I'm sure. And I'm happy. I'm happy for Chelsea to be back in the Champions League final, to be back at top level, because you deserved it. And I hope to be back here soon. Thank you for the invitation, and being a pleasure, really.
My man, thank you so much for the call. It's been great to talk to you. All right, and just like that, I end the recording and I come back and chat to you guys. That, I think, was as definitive of a 20-minute transfer Chelsea summer 2021 conversation that we possibly could have had. We had a lot of information in there about various different players. For me, the key thing to take away, if I keep this as YouTube as I possibly can without correcting myself and editing things, 3 players, Fab said, this summer is probably what Chelsea are going to be looking for. On a personal level, totally agree with that, because I don't want us to go and just add to this giant bundle of players that we're already struggling to accommodate on a week-by-week basis. So that has been the Here We Go Yes Guys collaboration. I hope you guys did enjoy it. If you did, be sure to hit the like button. Going to wrap things up here, and I will see you all tomorrow. Come on, you Blues.